Hey everyone. My my thoughts are swimming, okay? I'm just coming off of a meditation where I don't know, it was beautiful. The idea is this, okay? If we can get to a place of self-awareness, self-acceptance, which takes courage, okay? Why? Because from the time we're born, we're taught to be something other than what's natural to us. Let's say that you were a kid who really liked to do art or something like that. It's likely that at least one person in your life was like, "Oh no, that's just for fun. You can do that now. You're a kid, but that's not a serious option. That's not going to make you any money." And so essentially it's worthless, right? That means that your interests, your passions, whatever it is, like who you naturally are, is worth less, right? And this is just one of many, many ways that we are informed that we need to act right, be a certain kind of person if we want to have success in this life. And if you don't have success in this life, that's like one of the biggest fears, right? It's like equivalent to death. And so you just like over and over and over again in so many different ways, the idea of fitting in and not standing out in a negative way is reinforced. And so we get further and further away from being able to connect to who we actually are. And anything that is natural to the human experience sort of gets demonized, right? It gets kind of set out to the margins. You cannot have grief. You cannot have sorrow. You cannot have weakness. You cannot be human. You must fall in line, right? And so, because this is sort of how we are taught to be in so many different ways, then we're not properly prepared to deal with our own humanity, and it makes us afraid. Why do I feel myself weak? Why am I so disconnected from my own heart that I can't even cry? Why am I living? I'm just chugging along, but I don't feel anything. I feel completely numb and far away from that person that I once was when I was a child, and I had a bit more freedom in my soul, a bit more hope. Now I feel like, hope, what's that? That's a young person's journey, Once you get to a certain age, you know what it is. You know what life is. And you stop pretending. You put childish things aside. And now you're just a realist. You're clear-eyed. You know exactly what this life is about. Not necessarily, dude. If we were to come to a place where we could get into the practice of actually being self-aware, actually being curious about who we are as individuals, the good, the bad, and the ugly. But if we were to get into it and really not be afraid of our internal selves, our actual selves, our different selves, right? Then we might come to a place where we are not afraid, right? Instead of being like overly concerned about like, I just need to blend in. I need to take care of me and mine, basically. Because what happens is we get into this stage where we're fearful and we don't trust. We don't want to reveal. We don't want to reveal even to ourselves who we actually are. Because we're in lack, we're in fear, right? It feels like there's not enough. I need to take care of me and mine, and everybody else, they can worry about themselves. It creates this like, sort of like I don't know, like a Hunger Games kind of situation where it's like everybody against everybody else kind of energy. Instead of like, if we were to get to a place where we could actually get to self-acceptance, then that would lead us down a path of empathy and compassion, right? We would go, it's part of the human experience, right? Person that I've come across, you're having a difficult moment. It's part of the human experience. No need to hide away. You can have privacy if you want, but when you're ready, come on out. We will embrace you because we know what this is. This life, it's hard. So then it would be easier for us to trust the universe, to trust ourselves, to trust each other, because we would acknowledge it for what it is, difficulty. Of course, there's joy sprinkled in there, dude, but life is hard. And I've been in the place where I was so disconnected from the difficulty of life because I didn't want to know. And so I was so numbed out. I think that version of me, had she come across these kind of recordings, like, this kind of messaging, I think she would have been so disconnected from her own heart that she would have not understood. It would have been like some faint memory, some like echo of like resonance. But I was so detached. Anyway, but this idea though, it is about growing up. Not just as individuals, but as a whole, evolving. And, evolving does not mean perfection. It's the opposite. It means being honest about what actually is. And that would bring us courage. It would bring us strength. Anyway, these are big thoughts. I'm not sure that I even really clearly communicated that message, but it's fine. Anyway, happy Saturday, folks. See you next time.